Hey everyone, this is T-Lore back again with another Pirates combo. This week we're going to be looking at how fast can the fastest ship move. So I have here a couple of crew. These are crew that are going to be able to boost our speed in general. So the simplest one to start with would be the helmsman. The ship gets plus S to her base move. This is a 2-point and it's great to place on just about any ship. This is really the quintessential extra speed crew. We also have another 2-point generic crew here, the Navigator. This one only came out in the Savage Shores set, and it doesn't exactly raise the speed of your ship, but it does allow you to place trade currents, which when a ship passes through a trade current, it gets plus S for that movement. So I'm not actually going to include this one because this applies to every ship, and so you can put it out and put a trade current out, and as long as you cross the trade current, you're going to get plus S. So we're going to leave this one out for now. So we're also going to look at Griffin. Now, you'll notice that this ability has nothing to do with movement speed. That's because this is the common card from Rise of Fiends. There is a special edition, tournament rarity, promo, whatever you want to call it, number 206, that is also Griffin, that allows you to move an extra S when you have a captain crew. And I don't have that card. It's pretty hard to find. So I'm going to use this one in place of it just to kind of demonstrate. So this one is another way to get an additional S onto a ship. You'll notice that it's a British crew, so we're going to have to make sure that we can get British crew onto the ship. And then finally, Davy Jones. He's going to show up in just about every combo that we have, and he has the copier ability. So what do you think is the best thing for Davy Jones to copy? So if we already have a helmsman, already have a Griffin on there, we need to find a way to get as much movement as we can out of Davy Jones. So we could start with something like a wind catcher. So a wind catcher allows you to completely flip the ship around before you give it a movement action. So this is a way to take advantage of having a rather large ship. So if we look at it, a wind catcher itself is a pretty large ship because it's on a double-sized card. And if we look at it, we can see that the hull is just about an S long. So that's not great. We'd like to aim for something longer than an L. So we'll copy the wind catcher and put it onto something like 10-mast junk. So if we look at the 10-mast, you can see it's definitely longer than an S. So then if we compare it to an L, you can see that it's actually shorter than an L segment. So this is the longest ship in the game as far as what contacts the play surface. Everything else is shorter than a 10-mast. So that means that we're going to want to be looking for something that has an L, and that the wind catcher is not actually going to get us a whole lot of benefit. So we'll set this one aside and try and find a way to get L. One way to do that is we look for something like Silver Dagger. There's several ships like this that say this ship gets plus L to her base move if she has all of her masts. So this is a great way to be able to set aside some movement with Davy Jones and be able to get an additional L. So if we take Davy Jones plus the Silver Dagger, that gets us an L movement that we can put on the ship. We can have Griffin, and he can get us an S. And then we can have the helmsman, and that gets us another S. So these are going to be crew that we're going to be trying to put on ships to get us these additional movement segments. So let's start with a really fast base ship. And there's a couple of really good options. The San Cristobal is one that a couple of commenters mentioned, and this has definitely got the reputation for being a fast ship. It is S plus S, and if it has a captain, it gets plus L. So we're looking at SSL for this one. We also have the High Peng, which is also known for being really fast. That has an L plus S, and if it has a captain, it gets plus L to its base move. So that's why we picked the Silver Dagger, because it has a different ability. So it would be able to stack with this captain gives plus L. And remember, Griffin has if a captain If this ship has a captain, it gets plus S. So that will stack with both of these. And then finally, a runner-up that probably not many would think of is actually there's a couple of sea monsters that move really fast. So Kaleem moves SSS. It's not quite the fastest sea monster. The fastest sea monster is Mistwalker, which is the super rare, and I don't have that. But we'll use Kaleem in place of the Mistwalker. You'll be able to see pretty easily how fast that these sea monsters can go. And the reason why we picked a sea monster is because there is a crew that gives you plus L if a sea monster begins within L of this ship. So you would put this on some other random ship that you have and start your sea monster there to give it an additional L for its movement. Alright, so let's start with that sea monster since we've already got one crew out. So we're already moving SSS. Now, sea monsters can't carry crew. Even if you cancel the sea monster keyword, it specifically says in the FAQ or the Pirates Code that you cannot put crew onto the sea monster. So we've got the Sargasso Nightmare, other crew like that. How are we going to get more movement out of it? Because right now we're just at 2L. I know this one is 3S, but we're going to say 2L for Mistwalker. And then we get an additional L for the Sargasso Nightmare. So what do we need to do? We need to use a unique treasure. So this means that we can't really start the game in this condition. It says place this treasure on the nearest sea monster. It may now be assigned one crew per the transfer rules. So now that you have that on there, you're able to transfer in Davy Jones and get him placed onto the ship. So it matches the nationality. We don't have to worry about anything with that. And it's under the point limit. So we're able to pretty easily put this crew on there. And because we're able to copy the Silver Dagger, we're able to get an additional L. So just like that, you can see that we can get 4L movement out of this sea monster. So that's going to be our baseline. How fast do you think we can go with the other ships? So 4L is going to be so long that we're not even going to be able to see it on the camera. But if you lay these all out from corner to corner here, you can see just how far you can get in one move action. Alright, so that's about as far as the camera can really see, but you can do quite a bit of movement with just that one sea creature. The other ships that we have, so if we look at Peng is another one. This one definitely starts out a lot faster with L plus L plus S. Now, we don't have a captain on there, so we're really only starting with an L plus an S for movement. Alright, so we're going to set this aside and figure out how we can get more crew on here. The easy answer is going to be the helmsman. We can take the helmsman, and that helmsman's going to get us another S movement. Now, we've got to watch out for our point limit, so we may not really want to start with that. In fact, we need to start with a way to get over our point limit, because we're going to pretty quickly hit it. So we're going to put Jonah on here, which allows us to exceed our point limit. And we're also going to put Anamaria or Crimson Angel. There's a couple of different crew that'll do that. Anamaria allows us to use crew of any nationality. So we've used up 2 of our cargo spaces. We can use crew of any nationality, and we don't have to worry about that point limit. Now we can come back and put our helmsman on there. We're up to 3 out of our 4 cargo. And then since Davy Jones is going to be also very fast, we can come back and put him on there for an additional L. Remember, we can do that with the Silver Dagger or ships like that, which again, plus L to its base move. Alright, so we've hit our cargo limit, but I don't think we're done yet, because we still haven't taken advantage of this captain crew gets plus L to her base move. So if we come in with Captain Barbossa, who happens to be linked to the Peng, this allows us to get an additional cargo. So even though crew always take up 1 cargo space with this, links give you plus 1 cargo space. So Captain Barbossa happens to be a captain, so that's going to get us that additional L that we're looking for. Now, we've hit our cargo limit, and there are things known as cargo masters. So cargo master, you put it on another ship of the same nationality. In this case, we would put it on a pirate ship, and all ships in your fleet would get a plus 1 cargo space. However, there are only 2 cargo masters. There is a Spanish cargo master, Master Bianco, and then there is an American generic cargo master. And unfortunately, there's no pirate ones, so we can't get any more cargo out of this. Now, we could say that because the cargo master is a generic crew, you can just put it on there and say, I'm using this one as a pirate crew this time. And if you did that, then you can pull in and say, we're going to put our Griffin on there to get an additional +S. So now, let's see how much movement we ended up with. If we did that, we have 3S and 3L, which is much faster than the 4L that we have. Well, maybe just a little bit faster. So if you look at it and take 3S and compare it to 2L, they're not really that much different. 3S is just barely faster than 2L, maybe a centimeter at most, or a quarter of an inch. It is not much. So if we look at our 4L and then our 3L plus 3S, that's how fast the high Peng could go. Now, if we do remove that Griffin because of the cargo master, then we're only going 3L plus 2S. And that's the speed that we're going to run with, is 3L plus 2S, because that's how far you can legally go in the game with the crew that exist. So, can we beat that score with the San Cristobal? So when we bring this one in, we start out with S plus S for speed. So this is our base speed that we're working with. And if we get a captain on here, we'll be able to get an additional L. So we'll set this off to the side. And we're going to go through a lot of the same process. We need to be able to get crew of any nationality on there and be able to break the point limit. So for Spanish, they don't have an ability that says crew of any nationality can be used on this ship. They have the Inquisitor, which allows us to use black mark and turn the ship cursed. So we'll put the Inquisitor on there. We'll declare that we're using black mark, which means that we're going to get an additional point against the point limit of the ship. And now that the ship is cursed, we can use a crew like Tabitha McWarren that says crew of any nationality may use their abilities on this ship. So now we've got 11 points against the total of 17. What are we going to do about the point limit? That's where this crew, Captain Charles Richard, comes in. Normally these castaway or point break limit crew allow you to get rid of the point limit, but they're 0 points. And when you have a 0 point crew, it has to be on the same nationality. And the Cursed nor the Spanish have one of these. However, this one from Savage Shores happens to be a captain, and that gets it a cost of 3 points. So now this can go on any ship. And because we can use crew of any nationality on this ship, we can set him aside to break the point limit, as well as count as a captain. So now we have our L movement that gets to be assigned to this guy because of the San Cristobal's ability. So we're already up to S plus S plus L. We can ignore the point limit, and we've only used 3 out of the 5 of our cargo. So if we bring in the next crew, which is, of course, Davy Jones, and copy the Silver Dagger's ability again, because we just assumed that that's in our fleet, that will get us an additional plus L to our movement. So with that, now we're already up to 2L and 2S. We haven't used anything unusual yet, or the helmsman can come in now, and we've hit our cargo limit. So we're up to 5 cargo. We've got 3S and 2L. So can we go a little bit further? Well, if you remember, the cargo master happens to be Spanish. So we can bring in this cargo master that's Spanish and say that it has cargo master and give it an additional cargo. Now this gets to be a little bit fuzzy because technically this ship is cursed now due to the Inquisitor, but there's not really a clarification whether cargo master would apply necessarily. So if we go with that, that will allow us to get an additional crew on here, and that gets us an additional S speed. So now we're up to 4S plus 2L on the San Cristobal, which is a 5-mast ship. Alright, so what's the conclusion? The conclusion is if everybody had a cargo master, we'd be able to get these ships to go just a little bit faster. The Cursed don't have a cargo master. The Spanish do. So for now, we're going to go ahead and rank these ships in this speed ranking. So San Cristobal is the fastest. High Peng is next, and Kaleem or Mistwalker is the next fastest. So if we do 4S plus 2L for San Cristobal, and then we do similar for the High Peng, so that's 3S plus 3L. And then for Kaleem, we're going to say that we have 4L. So how do these lengths all compare? If we take out 2 L's from each of these, from Davy Jones and just from their ability, that leaves us with 2L additional for Kaleem. That leaves us with 1L and 2S for High Peng. Alright, so let's compare these lengths here. You can see that we're just a little bit faster, about half of an S segment. And then finally, if we go with the San Cristobal, we have 4S instead of because remember we removed 2L just so that it'll fit. So if we compare that, you can see that 4S is in fact even just a little bit longer still. So this is essentially how fast these ships compare. And you can see it's very, very close. So the maximum speed ends up being 2L plus 4S for the San Cristobal. And that just kind of goes very, very, very far. In a game where I believe islands are placed 4 to 6L apart, you're able to almost completely go there in one action. Now, you'll notice I didn't include any extra actions. Any extra actions are really just going to double this speed. Kaleem may not because it has to start its movement next to the ship that has the Sargasso Nightmare on it. So the sea monsters are really not a great option for being able to go a lot faster. But if you look at High Peng or San Cristobal, they're both going to be going way faster than any other ships in the game. So how practical is this? If you look at it, we're using both of these ships way beyond their normal abilities. Using a helmsman is a great way to spend 2 points. This should be on just about any ship to be able to get extra speed out of it. Being able to throw a captain on these ships is also a good option. They both have the capability of shooting well, and for an additional 3 points, you can get another L segment speed out of it. That ends up being worth it. Beyond that, we're paying somewhere in the range of 14 points just to be able to get Davy Jones on there, because that's 11, plus being able to put Cursed Crew on there is another 3. Not to mention having to have a ship that we can copy to get that. So that ends up being in the range of 25 points to get an additional L speed. And then of course you have Griffin, which is a possibility, but again you have to be able to get the crew of any nationality on there. And the special edition version is 7 points itself. So 7 points plus 3 is 10, just to be able to get an additional S speed. So really, if we're sticking with practical, a captain and a helmsman on these will get them to go very far. Alright, so hopefully that was informative, showed you some interesting crew that you won't get to see very often. So what are we going to do next time? How about, what do you think the most cargo a ship can have is? Now, I'll tell you right away that there are a couple of 10 masters that have 10 cargo, but don't just limit your looking to 10 masters. There's a couple of other ships that have much or very high cargo as well, and not all the 10 masters have 10 cargo. So we'll take a look at that next time and get a couple of rankings.